My name is Imre Kruijs and I will tell you something about feedback. According to John Hattie and Helen Timperley, you can give feedback on 4 levels. I'll give you an example. The first sentence in both these examples is about the task level. Here you are just only answering the question, did the student perform the task well, yes or no? Was the answer correct? This kind of feedback makes a lot of sense and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think it's a missed opportunity if it stops there. Feedback at the process level says something about whether the learner understands how he or she achieved the result or answer. Strategy is the word to remember for this. How did you approach it? Did you really understand it? This kind of feedback is important because otherwise you're just learning tricks. And you want your learner to be able to apply the same knowledge and skills in new situations. Then there's feedback on the self-regulation level. Here the question is, can you monitor and adjust your own actions? Feedback at this level is, for example, about the effort the student shows or the insight into his own abilities. What did you think about what you just played yourself? To what extent can you be your own teacher? Do you know what you can do yourself and where you need help? Feedback at this level has a positive influence on the student's motivation. Feedback on the self level is feedback on the person. You are adorable or a douchebag. This doesn't help the student at all. In the negative example, this is obvious, but also telling that you like someone doesn't make much sense. Of course, it's nice to hear that someone likes you and you don't have to stop saying that either. It just has nothing to do with feedback or helping someone further in their development. So far, I've only talked about feedback, but there's also feed up and feed forward. With feedback, you are only saying something about what just happened and you are answering the question, how am I going? With feed up, you're talking about the goal level and you are answering the question, where am I going? With feed forward, you are discussing the strategy to reach that goal and you are answering the question, what's the next step? The difference between those 3 questions always becomes very clear to me when I look at this picture. On the left, you see the rock of the current level, on the right, the goal level, and in between is the gap between those levels. Feedback gets more valuable when you accompany it with some feed forward and feed up. You could summarize the 4 levels and 3 questions in this table. And we're leaving out the 4th row because we're more and more finding out that feedback on the self level just doesn't help. Now you can analyze your own way of giving feedback and make your own feedback more meaningful by moving boxes horizontally or vertically. For example, task level feedback, you played it very well, becomes self-regulation level feedback, you played it very well, and I can see you used a very smart way to practice it. You could then also add feed forward on the same level by suggesting a new way to practice it. A word on that 4th level. Feedback is about behavior and not about the person. Behavior can be controlled and adjusted. Changing someone's personality is much more difficult and you shouldn't be concerned with that at all as a teacher. That's beautifully put, but at the same time, making music is a very personal thing. Precisely because musicians' behavior and personality are so intertwined, the time and tone of the message really matters. Something to be aware of as a teacher. Make sure that the message you did wrong never comes across as you are wrong. I would like to tell you much more about feedback, but this video is too short for that. If you want to know more, Google, for example, Liz Lerman's critical response, a method in which you postpone giving your opinion as much as possible. You stick with the facts and only at the very end you ask whether the student is interested in hearing your opinion. Or do some research on how specific and positive feedback can influence the student's motivation. If you remember only one thing from this video, please remember this. What you say as a teacher and how you phrase it really matters. And I think it's very much worth taking a moment to reflect on that.